What up, G? My name's Michael, and today I'm bringing you a special episode of Remake This, but this time, the Netflix Marvel heroes. Now, whilst this may sound odd, I have a special connection between the Netflix Marvel universe. Can we roll back the clip, please? Netflix, I know you're an avid viewer of Puka films and listen to our every word, so hear me speak. Reduce the series length. Bring it down to preferably 8 or 10 episodes. Now, am I saying Netflix watch my video? No, of course not, but Netflix, if you're watching this video, please bring me on as a writer. I know it sounds silly, but I feel I have partial responsibility, as I also said this in the video. Can we roll back the clip? Not to hate on Iron Fist or Luke Cage, but I personally don't believe they chose the right actors for the job.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Oh my god, am I the reason this got cancelled? Let me readdress some stuff before I delve in. At the time of making that particular video, Luke Cage Season 2 was just released, the very day the video was released. I watched that as well as Iron Fist Season 2, and they were vast improvements of the show. The issues I had with casting seemed to be fine. They toned it down, especially Finn Jones, and delivered a Power Man and Iron Fist that was enjoyable to watch, which I think's a real crying shame that they were cancelled. Netflix, please. The fans are asking for it. I'm asking for it. Heroes for Hire series. Please. The chemistry between these two are great. And what with the recent news of a cancellation, you announce this now, I promise you will get an influx of new traffic views coming your way. Anyway, I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love the Marvel Netflix universe. And whilst they are in the same universe, it's a real shame that we may never see the Defenders alongside the Avengers. However, as much as I love this series, it's not without its faults. So today I'm going to be remaking the entire Marvel Netflix universe. First, I must set myself some ground rules. I am sticking to the already pre-existing shows in terms of order. Daredevil Season 1, Jessica Jones Season 1, Luke Cage Season 1, Daredevil Season 2, Iron Fist Season 1, Defenders Season 1. I am not doing any other series after Defenders, as that seems like a natural end point for this particular video. In some sections there won't be much changed, in others there might be a lot. There will of course be spoilers for all the Netflix Marvel shows, so you have been warned. So let's just jump into it. Daredevil Season 1. Not much to change in this section. I would consider this a near perfect season with not much to change, but maybe a few bits be altered. Charlie Cox is brilliant, as is Vincent D'Onofrio. We can't take them out. The only thing I would change to fit with the overarching timeline is for Madame Gao to have more of a prominent role, not just standing around. My suggestion would be for Madame Gao to be more involved in Wilson Fisk's movements, and for her to not just to leave halfway through the series. So Daredevil tries to send down Fisk and Gao, but he can only naturally choose one. He goes for Fisk, and they have a fight down the alleyway, and Madame Gao escapes to be seen again with the same ending, Wilson Fisk heading to jail. Again, not much changed. Jessica Jones Season 1. Again, not much to change here. It'd feel like a crime if we took David Tennant out of the role of Kilgrave, as he just does a superb job. Good job, Doc. You killed it. Literally. Oh. However, what I would change is the secondary villain. In this season, the secondary villain is in the form of Will, otherwise known as Nuke. Now, his character felt more like padding and didn't serve any real reason to be there. Nuke's quite an out-there character, very brash, and this isn't Nuke. Sorry, Will. So in my version of a rewrite, we will include Anaconda, and for those familiar with the Marvel Universe, you might see where I'm going with this. Anaconda is a strong female villain whose arms can extend and grip people until it hurts. And for those saying it's a bit unrealistic for Jessica Jones, a grounded series, to tackle this, I will point them to The Wizard in Season 2. While true Anaconda and Jessica Jones don't really share a history, I think her inclusion would be good for two reasons. One, she is just as strong, if not stronger than Jessica Jones, which would seemingly stack the odds further than they need to be. Anaconda's appearance in my fictional Jessica Jones would negate the mum's villainous role in Season 2, but I digress. And two, Anaconda would be another child patient that Kevin's parents experimented on. The way I see it, Kilgrave and Anaconda could seemingly team up to try and kill Kilgrave's parents for all the torture they received, and maybe Kilgrave and Anaconda could form a type of relationship. And since Anaconda was in the same facility as Kevin, aka Kilgrave, she would be immune to Kilgrave's suggestion, making it actual love, with Jessica Jones acting as a type of ex. In terms of how I would end it, listen, While I get why Kilgrave was killed by Jessica, as he was just too powerful, perhaps the most powerful villain in the MCU, they seemingly lost a great villain for him, only to be brought back in flashbacks. And as much as this pains me to say this, I'd still have him killed, but perhaps in a different circumstance. Let's set the same scene in the docks. Kilgrave is setting sail with Anaconda, both proving how dangerous they have been and acting as a Bonnie and Clyde type of deal. I'd have Kilgrave's death be more slow and impactful, say a knife rather than a neck break, with Anaconda witnessing the whole thing, and she naturally freaks out at Jessica, but Jessica wins and Anaconda is sent to jail. Luke Cage Season 1. Listen, 2 major changes. That's all, just 2. Keep Diamondback and Cottonmouth alive by the end of the season and have them actually work together. That's all the changes it would need. In terms of the ending, I think both of them should maybe leave Harlem, or maybe after a scrap with Luke Cage, left bloodied but not dead, or presumed dead by Luke, but they make it out alive. Daredevil Season 2. Right, strap in folks. Daredevil 2 isn't the worst Marvel Netflix season, however I don't think it lived up to the hype the first one had. This one has been the hardest one to write, as there are some aspects I love and others I'm not fond of. It's hard to change one element without impacting the other for this series, so I'm hitting the reset button and starting again. Matt is still fighting crime under Daredevil, which is the same for Season 2, until he learns there's a new villain killing gangs under the guise Punisher, which again is how the series continues. All the drama with Daredevil and Punisher I would seemingly keep, as their ideologies and conflicts is perhaps the best thing about Daredevil Season 2. Daredevil finds out from Punisher that there's a gang moving into New York, and they're partly responsible for murdering his family. However, this time it's not the Hand. The Hand don't feature in it as much, if at all, in Daredevil Season 2, in my hypothetical scenario. Also, Punisher doesn't have a name for this gang, he just knows they're moving into New York and taking over from where Wilson Fisk failed to do. Punisher is locked away and we get all that courtroom drama and the prison fight and the scene with Kingpin still in there. Punisher is released like the actual Season 2. We later find out this new villain who runs the gang's name is Seth, otherwise known as his comic name Sidewinder. Sidewinder can teleport using a special cloak, however I'm changing a few small details. The character works at Roxxon in comics, but in my version he owns Roxxon. And the character teleports through a cloak, however I may have the character teleport through a device. Think Deadpool's teleportation belt. He has a protege called Klaus, who I will come back to later. In this revised story, we will follow a similar story that has happened, where they are after the Serpent Crown. It's this mythical object which could taint the minds of or influence those in presence of the Serpent Crown. So maybe Matt and Foggy go after the Roxxon Corp themselves, as they have been perhaps linked to several murders who leak the information about the mystical crown object. Perhaps the Corp could even try to bankrupt Nelson and Murdoch, just to add insult to injury, and Daredevil has to stop them whilst Punisher is going after Sidewinder, who is taking over the role of a blacksmith in Daredevil Season 2. So we have Daredevil and Punisher going after the same guy. Sidewinder finds the crown, Daredevil tries to stop him from getting the crown, and Punisher just wants to kill him. And you can have the similar rooftop fight as how the second series ended. Either way, the result is the same. Sidewinder, despite teleporting ability, dies. I think that for Punisher's hand, as it's a bit more rounded conclusion to the Punisher, and would actually make Daredevil feel responsible. Before Sidewinder dies, he teleports away to Klaus, giving him the crown and tells him he now owns Roxxon. Klaus becomes a king. You could say King Cobra. Iron Fist Season 1. Right, this has been a difficult one to do, so let's just jump straight into it. I think we can keep some aspects of the Iron Fist Season 1 storyline, however, we need to get rid of most of it. So, let's scrap the entire Season 1 storyline, every bit of it. Instead, let's move the Defender storyline in the place of Iron Fist. But there's a giant dragon buried under Midland Circle and they need the Iron Fist hand to break down the wall to give him everlasting life. Actually, I may keep a couple elements from Season 1, have Danny come back and introduce the Meachums as well as Colleen. Again, bringing in other elements, I would have a main story about Davos, aka Still Serpent. Whereas Danny came back just for fun, Davos came back about hearing the operation slowly moving into New York. Danny doesn't know Davos is here and vice versa. Danny does have a power of the Iron Fist, but Davos doesn't. Davos knows about the dragon bones underneath Midland Circle, but is acting more like a soldier than an Iron Fist. And since Danny's disappearance, he has to step up, becoming more of a jaded person. Anyway, the Hand is here, as is Madame Gao. They've only just started to bring in the Hand into New York, so there aren't hundreds of foot soldiers, as the season puts out. There's only really a few ranking leaders. Madame Gao, Alexander, and maybe a few other ones, but not Elektra. So let's reiterate, the Hands, they have about 30 members at this point, are after the Dragon Bones. Davos finds out about this and tries to stop him, who unintentionally bumps into Danny, aka the Iron Fist. At which point, Davos changes his plans and seeks out the Iron Fist for himself. His pride takes over the rational part of him, like in Season 2. Some elements stay the same. We meet Colleen, but however she is not part of the Hand. She's unconnected. And once Danny does lose the power of the Iron Fist to Davos, he has to get Colleen to teach him how to fight again. As Danny is this living weapon, he still can kick ass without his glowing hand throughout this hypothetical season. We'll get flashbacks to Kunlun like we did in Season 2 and actually show the dragon. So Davos has the power of the Iron Fist, confronts the Hand, Madame Gao underneath Midland Circle with his new power. For his sheer incompetence, he breaks down the wall that only the Iron Fist can break down, and then once Danny comes back in, him and the Hand and Davos all fighting each other. It's a free-for-all. Davos kills Madame Gao as well as the highest leaders of the Hand, and as Danny and Davos stare at each other, they have their worst fight. A battle of friends, and again Danny proved himself worthy. Davos in a bloody pulp punches the support beams in their fight. With the building collapsing, Danny is left near the Dragon Bones and decides to maybe break a few off and put them in his pocket before escaping. And Danny escapes just in time, with Davos seemingly escaped as well. We next see Davos buying weapons from dun 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 Diamondback and Cottonmouth. They talk about how they were wronged in New York, and Davos relates. They decide to return to New York to face their enemies together. Now listen, if you haven't already caught on what I'm doing yet, my idea for the Defenders is the Serpent Society, a group of individuals with various powers and a love for snake names. That's the one thing I felt has been lacking in the entire MCU. A group of villains with powers. The reason I think Defenders is just okay is how it set up Madame Gao in the actual Netflix show, who has super strength, and whilst the other leaders are durable, the rest are just foot soldiers. It's not really interesting when you see our heroes fight any other foot soldier or gang. They can do that in their own separate season. And sure, maybe you can have a little bit in this season. You want to have a big bad. You want to actually have them be a threat and not just doing the same thing they're doing in their own respective series. I think a few people would like to see a group of villains with no foot soldiers and just being all round superpowered and bad. I realise the inclusion of Davos may be a point of conversation and controversy, but I always have a particular rule with adaptations. You can have elements of the adaptation with what you're doing, either with a storyline or team members, but you have to add your own spin. This is why films like Civil War and Infinity War are doing so good. They're following the idea of a story, but doing their own thing. So the idea of a Steel Serpent fitting into a villain group that's compromised of snake names isn't that far-fetched. So now you know. Defenders versus Serpent Society. And with that said, Defenders Season 1. We pick up where we left off. King Cobra is now head of Rocksong. King Cobra can contort his body into almost any shape, and feeling a bit pissed off, he looks for a group of people he can maybe partner up with. Naturally, King Cobra may be in a kind of black market and comes across Steel Serpent, Cottonmouth and Diamondback getting a name for themselves. King Cobra approaches them, persuades them to join. They even hear about Anaconda, who is being shifted to a raft, a prison for people with abilities, and now a small group formed to bust her out. With King Cobra still having a serpent crown, they ambush and break Anaconda out, and now she is part of the team. With this, you can also introduce other members, say Rattler, who can make sonic vibrations with the mech suit he has, which would be a match for Daredevil, and maybe have a really tall buff guy playing Puff Adder. And that's our Serpent Society lineup. King Cobra, Steel Serpent, Cottonmouth, Diamondback, Anaconda, Rattler and Puff Adder. All villains our heroes have faced pose a real risk. But what about our heroes? Iron Fist is still recovering from a building collapse. He did get bone fragments, which, with the help of Colleen and help of the Crane sisters, they can extract power from the Iron Fist out of the bones, and boom, Danny is back as Iron Fist. Jessica Jones is still Jessica Jones, as is Luke Cage, perhaps starting where the Defenders actually started with him coming out of jail, and Matt Murdock seemingly giving up as Daredevil. Once the news of the ambush happens, the FBI who are transporting her are naturally all over New York and is looking out for the gang. Jessica is obviously feeling threatened by this Anaconda who knows will be coming for her. She naturally starts trying to find her first. Equally, Iron Fist, seeing Davos broke out Anaconda, goes out for a similar role. They both meet in the alleyway, fight happens, Jessica Jones and Iron Fist both meet in an alleyway, and they're essentially just replacing a role from Iron Fist and Luke Cage from Defenders Season 1. Matt Murdock was Luke Cage's lawyer all along and visits him in the Pop's barbershop just to say congrats on being out. At the same time, Cottonmouth comes into Pop's barbershop at this very same time, just teasing him, asking for a fight, and then Matt Murdock kicks his ass. From there, Luke Cage introduces Matt to Jessica as she needs help from the Iron Fist fight, and with all four of them meeting and becoming eventually super friends. Yay! However, this new villain group makes carnage on the streets. They attack a prison, freeing all the inmates, including Kingpin. Imagine the Dark Knight Rises with all the gangs. The Serpent Society are trying to turn New York into their town. Armed with a crown, they have their own army. Even the FBI are overpowered. The way I see it, the four of them have to persuade the FBI to follow them into battle. Again, like the Dark Knight Rises. They march down the street with inmates seemingly marching against them. The defenders, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist and Daredevil, are fighting in the crowd just to get through the eventual crowd to get to the Roxxon building. All seemingly making progress, some using each other's powers, some throwing each other. It's all out carnage. And eventually through fighting the crowd, all tired, bit battered, bit bloodied, they eventually do get to the Roxxon building, with the FBI still fighting a crowd of inmates just to calm down. And eventually they do get into the Roxxon building to fight the Serpent Society, and as they get to the top floor, it's chaos. Villains are swapping out who they're fighting mid-battle. King Cobra tries to use the crown to persuade Jessica, as she seems the strongest, but since she's used to mind powers of Kilgrave, she takes on Cobra, destroying the crown. Daredevil takes on Rattler and Steel Serpent. Danny takes on Cottonmouth and Diamondback. Luke Cage with Anaconda and Puff Adder, and Jessica takes on King Cobra. All using their special powers and skills. It's a long, bloodied fight, but surprise, surprise, Defenders won and Order takes control. Both heroes and villains have personal vendettas against everyone, and it's a much more personal finale, and actually has meaning to it, as opposed to the hand wanting dragon bones to live longer. And for those asking, where would Elektra fit into it? She wouldn't. Maybe have her mentioned and maybe cameoed in Season 2, but bring her out for Daredevil Season 3 with Bullseye and Kingpin. Have the death of her and then fight it out between Kingpin, Bullseye and Daredevil, with everyone trying to kill each other. No holding back. And that's it. Sorry for the long video, but that's how I would rewrite Marvel Netflix universe. It's been a long video, and it's one I've been greatly passionate about. Do you like this new style of rewrite? So I thought I'd try something different with including the figures, and I think it looks kind of nice, but let me know what you think down below. Anyway, this has been Michael, and drive safe.